Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Brian and Bianca from the Beehive RV, and today we are in our garage studio, so to speak. Bianca's Vader behind us, and today we're going to talk about our first
Jeep Jamboree
failure. Hey guys, if you're new to the channel and you like the content, please make sure you like and subscribe. We are that close to 1,000 subscribers and we're moving up. Once we do, maybe we can afford to make some better videos.
This is a beautiful studio.
Yeah.
It was a fail.
It was a fail, but it's something that we learned a lot from.
Yes.
And we want to pass that information on to you guys, especially people being new. I think this will be really good information for you. So let's talk about what happened. We signed up for the Jeep Jamboree at Table Mesa in Arizona. Super excited about it. Awesome, beautiful place to go.
We left on a Thursday.
Yep. Took 2 days off of work. Left on a Thursday so we could get there Thursday night. We checked in.
We got there about 5:20.
Yep. And by the time we got there, we were one of the last people to arrive.
Yeah, and I think it opened at 5 to get there.
Yeah, from 5 to 7 is when it opened up. And when you check in, they ask you, what rating of trails do you want to do? Now, we had brought the kids, and so when we checked in, we specifically put on our little fill-in sheet, we wanted 5 or less. 5 or less trail rating.
Yep.
And when we were talking with the guys trying to pick the trail, we told them, listen, we have the kids with us, 5 and 7. We don't want to be on the trail all day. And we want easy trails. I don't want the kids in the back seat whipping around. I'm not trying to crawl.
We didn't want to
be.
we didn't want to do a bunch of obstacles. Not that we didn't take Vader, but same setup on the Gladiator. Not that we can't do those kind of obstacles, but with the kids, yeah, it just isn't as enjoyable to stop, wait.
At all. When we told them what we wanted, they suggested the back route to Crown King. And us not knowing anything and kind of putting everything into the Jeep family hands, they suggested that, and the other one was the hieroglyphic loop. I knew nothing about these trails. B knew nothing about the trails. And so they were like, oh, it's a little bit of a long day. But because it's the scenic one, they're going to break it into 2 different rides. They're going to have the scenic ride with no obstacles. You could bypass every obstacle, we were told. It was going to be a shorter day than usual.
We'd get back by no later than 4:30 max.
At the latest. And then there was another group that were going to do all the obstacles, the difficult ride, right behind us. So we had to get there early in the morning so that we could get going, so the group that was doing the obstacles could go right behind us. And we wanted to stay well ahead of them, which they assured us we would. Anyways, so day 1, back route to Crown King, big mistake. Big mistake.
From the air down spot, we had a lead, a tail, and someone in the middle. So we had 3 guides with us. And the first thing that happened was, hey, we're going to split for the people who want to do the obstacles and then the people, but we are on the scenic one. It's what we signed up for. Not to sound snotty, I don't want to have to stop and wait every 5 minutes while these cars are trying to go to these obstacles. We didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, if you want to do the obstacles, great. In our trucks, we can definitely do the obstacles, but I don't want to do the obstacles today. We brought the kids with us, so the kids would have fun too. This was family event,
and there was other
obstacle
families.
event. Yeah. So because they broke into 2 groups, we're waiting for the 10 or 15 people that wanted to do the obstacles, which sucked because we're sitting there waiting and waiting. One of the guys who was doing the obstacle that he didn't sign up for broke his ring gear, just trashed his ring gear, so he was going to have to be towed out. When that happened, the woman who was the tail gunner said, look, we'll take this guy and we'll tow him back. You guys go ahead. It's going to take us more time, she said, but we'll get there. So at that point, we moved forward, and our mid gunner became the tail gunner.
Right. So then we go and we stop one more time. I think it was this.
More, whatever.
And weather was starting to move in, which we knew about the weather because I checked the weather like crazy. But weather was moving in pretty quick, so we started to rain when we stopped, and so we decided. The one guy made a joke, "Haha, get me out of this creek." So we take off and start going down probably one of the prettier parts of the day.
It was beautiful.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. I was like, wow, this is really pretty. We're going and for a long time. And at one point, we thought we were getting close to the end because we're almost on a service road. It felt like a road.
We stop again while we're waiting. What we thought we were waiting for the people towing the other vehicle.
Yeah, I thought we were waiting.
On the other Jeep. And at one point, the guy comes up to us and he says, "Hey guys, we need to turn around. We missed a turn. And we were like, what are you, joking?
Yeah.
How do we miss a turn?
Brian actually said that, and the guy goes, no. So.
And he's like, it's just a little ways back. And I said to him, I said, how did you miss a turn? Did you not pre-run the course? Nobody pre-ran that course.
Then we had the interesting turnaround because, you know, we're a gladiator and the trail is not large. And it wasn't, that part didn't have a huge drop off.
We were lucky we could turn around there because there were places on the trail you weren't turning around.
No, it was like
you were not going to do it.
Cliff. Right when we started, I said, okay, we're at 31 miles
Mile
at the
31
point.
On the trail.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, let's see how many miles. I was thinking 1 or 2.
Me too.
Turns out
it took 3 hours and 20 miles out of our way. So if you can even fathom this, we had originally 3 people, and then it was 2 people who had supposedly, well, I would imagine, pre-run the course, which they clearly did not.
Right.
Neither one of them, and there were at least 15 to 16 people in the 16 Jeeps in the group, and no one knew that we had missed the turn, and
including us. So
including us.
So when we ended up turning around, then we had to stop for a long time, and I realized the stop was probably because the lead guy was super confused and trying to figure out. That was a long stop, and it was starting to get dark, and it was very cold
and
raining, and the hail started just a couple minutes after that, and so we were like.
And of course, our kids are in the back of the car, not happy. You know, we'd already been on the trail. By then it was
8,
about,
9,
it's funny because when we stopped earlier, they had said, we need to be in CK, Crown King, by 4 o'clock, and we'll be there easy. We'll have time to walk around and look at the town. No, did not happen that way at all.
But so once we did get back on the road, which we realized how long, right away it got pretty hairy for a couple of reasons. One, I had heard they got washed out a bit. So
once we got back to the turn and we started going up the hill and heading back the proper way, it turns out there were obstacles. You're on the side of a cliff, literally.
Right. Yeah.
On the side of a cliff. There is no avoiding the obstacles. There's no going around the obstacle. It's over the obstacle or you don't go. End of story.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have any choices. It's dark. It's starting to snow and sleet.
Yep.
And it's like, let's go. And so how my amp research power step got destroyed. You know, we have it's a series of events, a series of misfortunate events. But you know, they say, my finger, my fault. And I told Bianca this, it's my fault. We kind of go back and forth. Is it my fault? Is it my truck? I was driving, but we get to this obstacle where the guide, who was our main guide who got us lost in the first place, that should have been the indication, said, listen, I want you to put your wheel up on this rock, and there was a pretty good gap. I could have gone and hugged the side, and it would have put me up on an angle, but I would have just drove right over it. And I thought about that, and at the same time, Bianca said, hey, listen, I got to get Ayla out of the car. She has to go to the bathroom really bad.
She'd been holding it all day because she was embarrassed with...
So Bianca jumps out, and the guide's going like this, and my son opens the back door. And I turn around and yell at him, son, close the door. Which it was getting pretty crazy at that time because it was getting dark.
Raining and cold.
And you know, I felt bad because I'm yelling at my son because he says he's got to go to the bathroom, but we want to get over this obstacle so we can continue on. Anyways, he closed the door, but he didn't close it all the way, which meant that the step stayed down. Now, we signed up for a trail that was 5 or less, and had we known that it was going to be a trail like that, I would have gone, and all the time what I do is I pull the fuse out of the amperature steps so that when we're on bigger trails, they will not go down. I don't want them to go down because I don't want them to get damaged. I didn't pull the fuse because we're supposed to be on a trail that was like a 2 to a 4. Yeah, it was a scenic route. The scenic route. So I didn't pull that fuse, and the steps stayed down. And
the guy didn't notice.
The guy didn't notice. He's like, come on, come on, come on.
I'm with Ayla behind the Jeep going potty.
I go up over the thing, bam, come down on the step.
Destroyed it.
It's destroyed. The step is destroyed. And I got to tell you, those steps take a beating. If I'm lucky, all I need is a step.
Yeah. I mean, we did the Rubicon Trail, and those things took a beating, and they
on
were
the Rubicon Trail,
no
we pulled the fuse, no problem, and I rode over them. It is what it is. But
once we got over the obstacle, we were good. We got out on the other ones, but I think this is where I started to get annoyed. The weather was bad.
Bad.
I mean, visibility was down. It was hailing. It was wet.
38 degrees outside.
Freezing. And of course, as we're going over the obstacles, the group starts to thin out a little bit because the leader's going. He's not stopping. at all. And at one point, the only Jeep I saw was the gentleman behind us, who quite frankly, I think at the point of that last obstacle is where we kind of linked together. All right, so Brian's handling the situation pretty well, considering it's freaking hailing. They got us lost.
3 hours and 20 miles.
3 hours?
3 hours and 20 miles out of the way. We're on the edge of a cliff.
We're on the edge of a cliff, legitimately. In the hail and rain. Not really sure where we are because...
Thank God I got the Garmin. Because the Garmin's actually...
We think we're in Arizona. It is hailing its butt off, guys. Like, I'll send this to... I know we're in Arizona. It's not what... Uh-oh. You know what? We need to go because now rocks are starting to come down. See that? There's more of a cliff. I'm not sure if you get the full understanding of this situation. You can tell by Ayla's face. You having fun?
I'm not having fun. I'm having so much fun.
Boo, what do you think? Official review. Thumbs down.
He knew that we were going to be more than 3 hours overdue. We were supposed to be back for the barbecue
4:30.
at 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, 5:30 the barbecue started.
5:30, yeah.
Yeah, and at 5:30 we were in the hail on the side of a cliff.
In the dark.
In the dark, by ourselves, coming down the road. And so he started staying a little bit, being like, hey, and I knew how far ahead he was at one point because he was like, hey, side by side coming. It was a good 10 minutes later, it felt like, when that side by side came up. So we had spread pretty thin. He truly did just leave.
He was gone.
The tail gunner, Larry,
Yep.
greatest guy.
He made sure he was the last guy out. I'll give him credit for that.
He wasn't leaving any Jeep behind. He was all about, and the gentleman, the Swedish gentleman behind us, same thing. We all stuck together at that point. But we got back to the Bumblebee Ranch at 7:20.
Yep. We had been in the car for 8 hours, and we'd been on the trail for 8 hours and 42 minutes. If you can imagine a 5-year-old son.
Well, we had been in the car because what we did is
Over
we
10
actually
hours
left
easily.
the Hampton Inn. We got in the car to start the day at 8:10, a little bit before
Yeah.
that, but 8:10, and we rolled in at dark after 7, about close to 7:30. So
Easy 12-hour
Yeah,
day,
we know-
10 hours in the car, 8 hours and 42 minutes on the trail alone.
And we know, because we've done Jeeping before, Brian and I did Rubicon, and we drove up 9 hours to Reno. The next
Did the
day,
trail.
we did the trail in the snow. We have video of me in the snow, soaking wet, 4 or 5 layers of clothes soaking wet. Had a ball.
Video.
Got in
Yeah.
the car. Yeah, we'll post that one. Got in the car to drive halfway home, and then the next day drive
Drove
the
another
remaining.
9 hours.
So
I don't mind the
Yeah.
time, but not when you're planning that with your children.
Right, and
we didn't want the kids to have that kind
it
of
just
a
felt
crappy day.
really not planned well. It felt like, and not that
Terribly
we were
well planned.
we were not unsafe, because Brian and I were prepped. We had a heater. We have a rooftop tent.
Yeah.
Like, really, if anything were to
That
truly
was one
be
thing we talked about on the trail. We said, listen, we've got the rooftop tent, we have food, we have
Yeah.
water. I even brought the diesel heater, so even though it was cold as
we
heck
had the
outside,
Jackery, so we had power.
We had
We had
power.
everything we would need, but
which one of the cool things is, that's one of the reasons why we took the Gladiator. I wanted to make sure that the Gladiator, with everything inside that we would use for camping, was going to be
Yeah.
great on the trail, and we didn't have any problems.
yeah,
with
we
it.
had. I think the biggest disappointment was Brian got a little heated when we over the obstacle, and we realized our truck had been damaged, and he told the guy, hey, this is not what we signed up for. And everybody at the first part, when we first got lost on the radio, was kind of chattery, like, oh,
Yeah.
what a nice, route, like,
What a nice scenic route.
yeah,
They were trying
detour,
to-
all that kind of stuff. Can't think of the word detour. And everybody was pretty chatty and laughy, and I think when we started going over the obstacles, it got pretty silent. I think people were starting to realize.
Yeah. And then people
This-
weren't being polite on the radio
Yeah,
anymore.
and then nobody was talking. Nobody was being helpful to one another. It just became, I think everybody was starting to boil over.
Yeah.
When we got back, Brian went and kind of spoke his mind with the people.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we
I blew my
made
top.
a big decision that night, because not only did we drive, I took off the rest of my personal time. When you're a teacher, your personal time is a big deal, and I have none left because of this trip. We didn't go back the second day.
And I told him, I said, listen, I can't do that to my kids. I don't want to do that to my kids. We brought the children Because two things. Number one, you go to the Jeep Jamboree for the trail and the people.
Yeah.
You go do the trail, then you come, you do the barbecue, you hang out, you talk to people. How was your day? How was this? What did this? What did we learn? We missed all of the second part of that because everybody was gone by the time we got
The only
back.
people that were still there were the few people who in our group that were camping, or the few that were hungry enough that they just didn't care about the day and they just went to go eat, and they were getting back in their Jeeps by the time we were done airing up.
And
So
to their credit, Jeep made sure that there was food there that was fresh off the barbecue. But I did not want to sit next to the guy that I wanted to strangle.
which we've talked about since, and we understand that accidents happen, and by no means are we those kind of people that are.
Yeah. So what did we learn
Whiny.
is really where it comes out. I felt bad for a little bit because the guy, Alan, I lost my cool with him, and I'm not the most diplomatic person. And I felt bad because, you know what, he was a volunteer. He was there to make everybody have a good day. It wasn't his fault that it happened that way. It wasn't. Who's to blame? Who's to say? And I apologize if he's watching. I apologize if I made him feel whatever. But at the same time, this is what we have learned. Number one, when we signed up for the course or for the trail, we had the trail information, and I could have gone back to the hotel, and I should have gone back to the hotel and researched that trail.
Yeah.
I should, and I had actually gone to the point of loading all the maps on my Gaia GPS, and my Garmin, which by the way, the Garmin tread is way better than Gaia, way better than anything you can use on your cell phone. I'll tell you, it never freezes, never stops, always
let
has
us
all
know
the
how
trail.
off course we were. It had the
I
trail
pressed
on
the
there.
track button, so the whole time I could even see how far we backtracked because of the Garmin tread. Anyways, and the Garmin tread also has the option to have a group ride, which is really cool. We'll do a video
Yeah,
on
we
that.
had some
but-
other stuff on there. But anyway.
Anyways,
so-
no one in the group, no one, neither one of the two guides and no one else in the group knew the trail. That was a mistake. Nobody in the group had any idea where the trail was. Nobody, because clearly we all went the
Well, I
wrong
think
way.
when we realized the mistake, I think we knew we were able to see it then, and we were able to see it on the trail. But I guess we were just so thinking that the guide was taking us in the right direction.
I told the guys from Jeep, who, by the way, kudos to Jeep Jamboree and the guys from Jeep. I can't take anything away from their professionalism and how they care for everyone that's there, and they try to make sure the difference between the Jeep Jamboree and the Jeep Adventure Academy. The Jeep Adventure Academy, everyone who's on the trail guiding you and inspecting you and watching you, they all work for Jeep, and that's all they do. And they're there to teach you how to do stuff. At the Jeep Jamboree, they get together with a bunch of locals and stuff, good people, but it's not put together the same way. At the Jeep Adventure Academy, they pre-run the trail, they make sure the trail is good, they make sure the obstacles are going to be doable for everyone. Clearly no one had done that on this at all.
Right.
Nobody.
And when even the point where we missed the turn, I could totally see how it was possible to miss the turn. It was
it was a very,
one turn made sense, and
it
one
was
was
like a
this really tight.
270-degree
Yeah,
turn.
and so we were supposed to do the really tight one, but to be honest, it flowed so easy to go, and I could see how it happened, and I'm not mad about that. I think I'm just more. There was just a moment where it was almost just laughable because the weather was crap. It was dark.
It was the worst possible situation.
It really, and I felt
The
safe
worst.
because I had, Brian's with me, and I knew what we were fine if we could find. But
Yeah.
and here's the crazy part: the Jeep that they towed out of there
Got back.
made it on time and did not miss dinner, which means
Yeah.
we
Kudos.
were slower than the Jeep that had to get pulled over the obstacles
With a broken ring gear.
Yeah.
With a broken ring gear.
And every single Jeep that was started after us, that did every single
Got done
hard
way
obstacle,
before us.
they all beat us.
If you're going on a trail that you've never been on before,
Or, yeah.
find out what you can. The one thing I'll say about Gaia GPS, which is awesome, is everything is on there. If I had looked on Gaia GPS, it tells you it's 40 miles. That trail was 40 miles. I would have looked at that and said, no, I don't want to do this with the kids. It's way too long.
What I think we learned as much as we thought we were prepared, they did list the trails on the website. We failed on our end. We did. We should have really been like, hey, this is a good option, this is a good option. But one of the bad parts was it doesn't matter what option we wanted anyway, just because we had arrived 20 minutes after other people, our choices were down to like 3 picks anyway.
Yeah, but if I had done some research beforehand, I will tell you the next time that we go on any Jeep event, trail event, I will know the trails. And if we have the kids with us and I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, we would have much
done
rather
Table Mesa.
not, yeah, we could have drove down to Table Mesa by ourselves and done that and then gone back and had dinner. The next day, the next course, the hieroglyphic loop was 17 miles and supposed to be amazing. By the way, the weather was beautiful. We missed all that. We ended up the next day, we took the kids to the Phoenix Kids Museum,
Which is
let them
pretty
run around
awesome.
for like 4 or 5 hours. They had a ball.
And then we drove home, and it was the
Well, they
weather was
exhausted us, yeah.
and the weather was so. It was really windy, but we came home a day early. We didn't get to use a rooftop tent, which is not Jeep's fault or anything. But we made that choice to decided to come home.
The kids were done.
They were
we were done. I did. Truthfully, Bianca had no food, and myself. I told the guys from Jeep that we had no faith in the guides. Zero. How could we?
That was mainly me. At one point, I think I was just. I don't know if you guys watch the channel or anything. I have a really bad knee. It's bad. And with the steps being gone, and then you're trying to walk around in this bad weather, and that much time in the car, and I can handle a lot, but I really just kind of felt like I didn't want to be there. It was the first time ever I just wanted to go home, and it created argument in a way. Like we are both so frustrated that the next morning we were trying to be polite and happy, but it's hard, and we're snapping and bitching at each other, and all I could think is this is not. We were so excited to have this weekend together, and it turned out. Over little things that weren't even that big of a deal. I think we were silent in the car for about a good 30-minute drive at one point, and it wasn't like cool silent. It was like both of us were heated, and there was no reason for it. This weekend was not fun.
Nope.
Sorry, Jeep.
You just invest yourself in what's going on. You invest yourself in the people who are there and their professionalism. Biggest thing we learned: question everything. Make sure you are prepared.
Yeah.
Forget about who's guiding you. Do you know the trail? Number one. Do you have everything you need on the trail with you? That if something crazy goes wrong, you're going to be fine.
Well, and maybe even don't be afraid to make the call of, I think we've had enough, right? Like,
yeah.
So when we stopped for our little break thing, I was kind of done then. At that point, I hadn't even gotten out of the car on the last 2 stops because the weather had changed and our daughter was having some allergies and she didn't want to get out. So
we could have turned around and gone back the way we came.
At that point, you need to be able to make that call and be like, you know what, this was fun. Pretty far into it,
but this is enough fun.
Yeah, we're gonna drive out of here on our own.
But I didn't want to do 60 miles. 60 miles is what we did that day. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go do maybe 20 to 30, spend some time with the kids, let them run around, let them play, have the barbecue, meet. We had friends who had gone there as well, sit and have a drink with them, have some fun. The next day, do the same kind of thing.
I think she was, because she let us know when we were coming down. She's like, okay, well, dinner was good. Well, we're still on the trail. And so it was kind of like...
the Jeep people were very responsive because I went and lost my cool. And I told them, we're out of here. We're leaving. This is a joke.
Yeah, they didn't want us to. They were hoping that we would come back the next day.
To their credit, they did. They said, listen, why don't you go home and relax, and tomorrow's going to be a different day. We promise. Everything's going to be good. But it was just not happening.
Well, and to be fair as well, once we got to Bumblebee Ranch, it's awesome because we're at our location. We did not stay at Bumblebee Ranch. We still had to take a dirt road for 5 miles or so to the highway. From the highway, we had to drive. Most people were staying in Anthem, but we actually were staying in Happy, Arizona, which is
another 10 miles.
Another 10 miles down there. So it was 30 miles from Bumblebee Ranch was our location.
But are we going to give Jeep Jamborees another chance? Yeah, we will, of course. I mean, it's fun. It is fun. And you meet a lot of cool people. There were a lot of really good people there, and I felt just more disappointed. I was angry and disappointed that we didn't get to do the next day. There was no us doing the next day. Not happening.
No, I think it was over, and I think I was probably one of the reasons for it. I had just had enough that day. I did. I was pretty cranky, and kids were, and mainly because when we do these family trips, Ayla and Atlas, they shouldn't be. One thing I had said to Brian is, I can't believe it because I had yelled at Atlas because he had to go to the bathroom. And although for the gazillionth time, but the boy was actually going pee every single time. But I kept snapping at him because I was just so over it. And I don't want to be in a position where my kid is getting yelled at because I'm frustrated and all he needs to do is go pee. And he's been in the car all day. And so they would ask stuff and I would just be annoyed that they were, can we go to the hotel? And it was like, for the love of God, you've asked. And then it was kind of like, That's not fair.
They just wanted to get back to the
Yeah,
hotel.
or they
over
would
and over,
ask
they kept
simple,
saying.
like, you know, how about a dinner? And it was kind of like,
Yeah,
how
the
many more
worst part
snacks
is-
can we eat?
The worst part is the kids had such a miserable time. I don't know that they ever want to go on a jeeping trip again. I really don't.
I hope we can get them out here and do Spring Mountains. It's a really small adventure, but yeah, do your homework.
Yeah,
Be
take it
prepared.
away. Download the maps. Go find out what the trail you're going to ride is.
Be your
Download
own
the
lead.
map on. Yeah, be your own leader. I like that.
Yeah.
Be your own leader. Download the maps. Look at it on Google Earth. Have it on Gaia GPS on the offline. No, it was actually Onyx. Have it on Onyx Off-Roads with the downloaded maps or Gaia GPS or whatever you use. Download it. Know the trail. Have it marked on your
Yeah.
system. And don't just have one. Have two.
Yeah,
Your phone and her phone.
have
whatever.
everything. Have
Plenty
everything.
of battery.
Yeah, lots of little things.
Don't
enough
be
water,
afraid.
Things, yeah.
Don't be afraid to question authority. If you go and somebody else is putting this on, make sure that, hey, ask them, have you ran this trail before?
Yeah.
Have you run it in the last 4 or 5 days at least? The other thing was the trail wasn't marked at all.
Oh no, there was one rock that said CK spray painted
Yeah, but
on
that's
it.
like this famous
Yeah,
rock.
and then everything
I'm talking
else
about-
was not marked.
I was shocked that Jeep hadn't put a flag or a something every half mile, every mile at the very least. You know, it was a 40-mile trail. It would have took 40 flags, but two things. It would have shown us that someone had pre-run the trail. And number two, if someone had gotten off the beaten path, then they could have at least hopefully tried to follow
Yeah,
those
because at
markers.
the very
There were
end,
none.
we had to stop again because Atlas had a quick little potty break, and a couple of Jeeps that were behind us left us. And who ended up staying was Larry the tail, because he was not going to let anyone not be followed, and then the Swedish guy. He stayed. So
Yeah,
at
guy
that
from
point,
Rancho, which by the way, they make really nice shocks and suspensions.
that guy alone,
And
I'm
really
telling you,
cool
I
people.
would go shop from him just because he didn't care, and it was a long day for him too, and he stopped and he waited, and it was miserable, and there's Atlas out in the thing
Yeah,
peeing.
taking a pee.
And they waited, but everybody else
Gone.
gone. They all left. So I think just
At
really
the
be
very
prepared.
end, excuse me, at the very end, it was Bianca and I and the kids in the car driving. The only reason I knew we weren't lost is because I had overheard them say, once you get to CK, it's about 15 miles straight down the road. We were the only ones on the road other than the Rancho guy behind us.
Yeah. And at one point, we caught up to a Jeep in front of us, and he never even turned into Bumblebee. He just kept
He didn't
on.
even, he decided he wasn't even going to go to the.
Yeah, I
to
think
the
quite a
diner.
few people did. And while it was airing up, I think every Jeep was getting ready. They
Yeah.
were either leaving, had left. A couple were camped out. But anyway, be your own leader.
So take what you need. Take everything you need. Be your own leader. Make sure you are aware of, I don't know, what else?
it's kind of that whole knowledge is power. So just make sure, do your own homework,
Yeah.
because sometimes the leaders, they don't mean to. Accidents can happen. People can get lost. Just lack of information. But if you know what to expect, the unexpected won't seem so bad. One good thing over this weekend, I got this super cute sweatshirt.
Oh yeah,
It's
Bianca
the
got this
Jeep
super
Jamboree.
cool. And I got a cool hat.
Yeah, so there was some good. A new hoodie is always good. So positives, Jeep was great. The guides tried. Bad was
It was an epic failure.
yeah.
Jeep,
But there's a lot of
The
good.
Jeep people are very professional, but I was really just, you say what you want. I couldn't
terrible.
even believe that
It was
happened
terrible,
the way
yeah.
it did. It was, wow. Looking forward to giving them another chance, but I will do it much more cautiously.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Awesome. Till next time.
don't forget, guys, this channel's never
Sponsored. We
sponsored
don't
in
get paid.
any way. All of the stuff we bought ourselves, including my new amp research step that I'm gonna have to replace.
Yeah.
So
Fun.
like and subscribe. It helps us, motivates us. Any comments that you have, anything you can suggest, please put them below. It's important for everybody. Enjoy your Jeeping. Do the best you can to enjoy it. They're so much fun. I can't even believe the things we can do in the Jeeps now. I mean, when the first time we went over the smallest obstacles, I remember when we took the Jeep out in the desert, we were like, and now it's like, oh, I can go up that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, what?
I think of the first time we went to Wickenburg, and I was like, I don't know if I feel comfortable. It was like that little
Yeah.
tiny
Yeah.
rock, and now I'm like,
It's like going over a curb.
yeah, now I'm like, oh, I got this.
And now it's like, put in compound low. Anyways, we do enjoy the Jeeps, and we enjoy the Jeep family.
Yeah.
and everything. So I'm looking forward to the next time now. Hopefully, a little bit less angry.